The persistent hum of Kai Asher's ancient laptop was a familiar lullaby, often accompanying the late-night symphony of his growling stomach. Another caffeine-fueled rush of vector art and pixel manipulation, another design delivered, another invoice sent out into the digital ether, hoping it wouldn't get lost in the void of clients who conveniently forgot to pay. His small apartment, a rented shoebox crammed with art supplies, half-finished canvases, and a perpetually messy desk, was a testament to his ambition and his struggle. Posters of old-school anime and classic rock bands clung to the walls, relics of a less complicated youth, now fading just like his optimism sometimes felt. 26 years old, and Kai was still chasing the ghost of financial stability. His parents, good people who'd taught him the value of honesty and hard work, had faced their own share of hardships. Seeing their quiet anxieties over bills had instilled in Kai a deep-seated desire for a comfortable, peaceful life, a life free from the constant, gnawing worry of debt. But student loans, those merciless vultures, circled relentlessly, their shadows long over his meager earnings. He yearned for the day he could look at his bank account and see a solid number, not just a holding pattern barely above zero. Tonight, the city outside his window was a blur of neon and rain, mirroring the fuzziness in Kai's own head. He'd just finished a rush job for a fussy startup, a logo revision that had taken 3 rounds more than necessary. His eyes burned, and his back ached from hunching over his tablet for hours. He stretched, a series of pops and cracks reverberating through his spine, then decided a quick walk, despite the weather, might clear his head before he attempted sleep. Slipping into a worn hoodie and grabbing his cheapest umbrella, Kai stepped out into the damp, cool embrace of the night. The streetlights cast long, distorted reflections on the slick asphalt. Taxis zipped past, their headlights slicing through the rain, while the distant wail of a siren added to the urban symphony. It was a typical weekday night in his bustling district, a relentless rhythm of concrete and chrome. He wasn't looking for anything, just a moment of quiet detachment from the glow of his screen. But then he saw her. Near the bus stop, partially obscured by the overhang of a shuttered noodle shop, was a woman. She was hunched, her shoulders trembling, a stark silhouette against the backdrop of the city's indifferent pulse. What caught Kai's eye wasn't just her evident distress, but the startling incongruity of her appearance. Even through the dim light and the rain, he could tell she wasn't dressed for the street. Her coat, a dark, impeccably tailored wool, seemed to shimmer with an understated elegance. Her hair, a cascade of dark waves, was slightly disheveled, but it still managed to frame a delicate profile that spoke of refinement, not destitution. She looked like she'd stepped out of a high-end fashion magazine and into a downpour. Hesitantly, Kai approached, his umbrella tilting as he tried to offer her some shelter. "Are you all right?" he asked, his voice softer than he intended, a stark contrast to the aggressive honking of a nearby cab. She flinched, startled, and slowly raised her head. Her eyes, startlingly green even in the poor light, were wide with a mixture of fear and something unreadable. A tear tracked a path down her cheek, leaving a glistening trail. She was beautiful, not in a flashy way, but with a classic, almost ethereal beauty that felt out of place on a grimy city street. I'm fine," she whispered, her voice a low, melodic murmur, though it wavered slightly. It was the voice of someone accustomed to being heard, not someone lost and alone. Kai frowned. "You don't look fine. Are you lost? Do you need help finding a taxi or—" He gestured vaguely, his kindness overriding his usual shyness. He remembered his parents telling him to always offer a hand if someone was truly in need. She shook her head, a faint, sad smile touching her lips. "No taxi. No place to go." His brow furrowed. "No place to go? Do you mean you're homeless?" The words felt clumsy on his tongue. She looked anything but. No tattered clothes, no grime, no visible bags. Just an impeccable, albeit rain-dampened, mystery. She nodded slowly, her gaze drifting past him, as if seeing something only she could perceive. "I have nothing. No ID, no phone, no money. It's complicated." She looked back at him, those green eyes holding his. There was an intensity there that was unnerving, yet compelling. I just ran. And now I'm here. Kai felt a pang of sympathy mixed with a healthy dose of suspicion. Ran from what? He ventured, instantly regretting the directness. She merely shook her head again, a wisp of a smile playing on her lips. That's not important. What's important is, I need shelter, and I am willing to work for it. She paused, her gaze now unwavering. I can clean. I can cook. I can organize. I am very good at keeping a household in perfect order. Kai blinked. You want to be a maid? He couldn't help but let a flicker of incredulity show on his face. This elegant woman, looking like she belonged in a penthouse, wanted to be his maid? In his cramped, slightly too dusty apartment? A temporary arrangement, she clarified, her voice gaining a surprising firmness. Until I can sort things out. I don't want charity. I want to earn my keep. She looked around his modest street, then back at him. Your kindness suggests you are a good person, but also one who values practicality. He was speechless. She'd pegged him pretty well, especially the practicality part, which was usually followed by, and also desperately poor. Look, I appreciate the offer, but I don't exactly have the means to hire a maid. My apartment is small and... He trailed off, a blush creeping up his neck. The idea was ludicrous. But that's where my offer becomes unconventional, she said, a strange light entering her eyes. I don't expect you to pay me a salary. I will pay you. Kai's jaw nearly hit the wet pavement. You'll pay me? Yes. $3,000 a month. In exchange for room and board and the opportunity to prove my worth as your temporary household manager. She delivered the sum with the same casual air someone might discuss the weather. $3,000. A monthly payment that would cover his rent, chip away at his student debt, maybe even buy him decent groceries for once. It was a lifeline, shimmering tantalizingly just out of reach. His mind reeled. $3,000? But if you have no money, how? I have access to funds, she stated, cutting him off smoothly, just not directly. I can arrange for the payments. Consider it a retainer, perhaps. I merely need a place and a purpose for now. And privacy. Complete privacy. No questions about my past, no attempts to contact anyone on my behalf. The terms were as shocking as the sum. A homeless heiress? A mysterious runaway with a bottomless purse? It sounded like something out of a bad movie or a scam. Kai's practical mind immediately screamed red flag. That's insane, he finally managed to say, running a hand through his damp hair. I can't just take money from a stranger for something like that. And I certainly can't have someone just move in with me, no questions asked. What if you're dangerous? Her lips curved into a faint, almost amused smile. Dangerous? To you, a man who offered an umbrella to a stranger in the rain? I assure you, my only danger is perhaps an overly zealous approach to dust mites. And I am far more vulnerable than you are, Mr. Asher. She met his gaze with an intensity that made him feel as if she were peering into his soul. Consider it a unique opportunity. You help me, I help you. $3,000. Is that not enough to alleviate some of your financial pressures? He stiffened. How did you know? She merely shrugged, a subtle, elegant gesture. You are the burden of responsibility and worry, Mr. Asher. It's quite common these days. My offer is genuine. I need a sanctuary. You need financial relief. A symbiotic relationship. Kai took a step back, trying to process it all. This woman, who he now realized was probably only a few years older than him, was offering him a fortune to be his maid. A maid he would pay. It was absurd. It was unethical. It was probably illegal. But it was also $3,000. That monthly payment. The idea of easing the crushing weight of his debt, even for a few months, was intoxicating. He pictured his parents' relieved faces, the possibility of a better future for himself. Look, I need to think about this, he stammered, his mind a whirlwind of pros and cons. I can't just let a stranger into my home. You need to understand. Of course, she said, her voice softer now, almost coaxing. But consider this. Where else will I go tonight? The streets? A shelter where my situation would only draw unwanted attention? Or your small, modest apartment where I can provide a service and you can receive a significant financial boon, all with the understanding that I ask for nothing but shelter and privacy." Her words, while still unsettling, began to chip away at his defenses. He imagined calling Liam, his best friend, who would probably tell him to run for the hills. He imagined Mrs. Tanaka, his landlady, who would likely shake her head with a knowing sigh, saying some people are just too kind for their own good. But then he thought of the looming student loan interest, the unpaid credit card balance, the worn soles of his only good pair of shoes. "What's your name?" he asked, needing something tangible, something real amidst the surreal. She hesitated for a beat, her green eyes flickering. "You may call me Elara." Elara. It sounded ancient, aristocratic, a name that perfectly matched her strange elegance. He ran a hand over his face, the rain-damp air chilling his skin. "This is unbelievably strange, Elara." "Life often is," she replied, a faint, almost predatory smile touching her lips. "Especially when you find yourself in unexpected situations. So, Mr. Asher, do we have an agreement?" The rain seemed to intensify, the city lights blurring into streaks of color around them. Kai looked at her, truly looked at her. Her face, devoid of overt makeup, was expressive, yet held a deep, unyielding resolve. She was a mystery wrapped in tailored wool, offering a deal that defied logic, a deal that felt both like a trap and a salvation. His gut screamed caution, but his wallet and the desperate hope in his heart screamed a very different tune. He finally exhaled, a long, shaky breath. "Okay," he said, the word feeling heavy on his tongue. "Okay, Elara. I'll give it a try. For a month. We'll reassess after that." A genuine smile, dazzling and surprisingly warm, blossomed on her face. It transformed her features, making her seem less like a lost enigma and more like a woman who had just achieved a small victory. "Excellent. You won't regret it, Mr. Asher. I assure you." She stepped out from under his umbrella, her gaze locking with his, and there was something in her green eyes, a subtle glint, a spark of something possessive, that sent a shiver down Kai's spine, despite the warmth of her smile. He had just invited a complete stranger, a woman offering an impossible sum of money, into his life. He had a feeling his peaceful existence had just been irrevocably shattered, and the true cost of that 3,000 might be far more than just room and board. The scent of freshly baked bread and citrus cleaner now permanently clung to Kai's small apartment, a stark contrast to the familiar aroma of stale coffee and takeout he'd grown accustomed to. It had been just over a week since Elara, the mysterious woman with eyes like polished obsidian and an offer too good to refuse, had moved in. And in that week, Kai's life had been utterly, undeniably transformed. He awoke each morning not to the jarring blare of his phone alarm, but to the gentle aroma of coffee brewing and the subtle sounds of Elara moving about the kitchen. Breakfast, a lavish affair of perfectly toasted artisan bread, farm-fresh eggs, and a vibrant fruit salad, was always laid out meticulously by the time he emerged from his room. His clothes, even the ones he'd discarded haphazardly the night before, were now clean, pressed, and neatly folded on his bed. His workspace, usually a minefield of sketch pads, stray pens, and half-empty mugs, was pristine. Every pencil sharpened, every file stacked, every surface gleaming. Elara was a phantom of domestic perfection. She moved silently, efficiently, her delicate figure flitting from task to task with an almost supernatural grace. Kai rarely saw her idle. If she wasn't cooking, she was cleaning. If not cleaning, then organizing. Yet, despite her constant activity, she never seemed to intrude. She was simply there, an invisible force of order that had swallowed his chaotic existence whole. "Good morning, Kai," she'd greet him, a soft, pleasant smile playing on her lips. Her voice was always calm, melodious, like a lullaby. "I hope you slept well. I've prepared your usual today, with a fresh batch of blueberry muffins. And I noticed your project files were getting a bit jumbled, so I took the liberty of sorting them alphabetically. I hope that's all right." Kai would stammer out his thanks, a mixture of gratitude and a burgeoning unease swirling within him. "Elara, that's wonderful. Thank you. You really don't have to go through my files, though. I appreciate it, but..." Her smile would remain unwavering. It's no trouble at all, Kai. I believe a tidy workspace leads to a clear mind for creativity. And my role is to ensure your comfort and productivity. Her gaze, however, would hold his a moment longer than necessary, a depth in her eyes that was hard to decipher. It wasn't accusatory, but rather possessive. Like she was already intimately familiar with every detail of his life, his habits, his preferences. He couldn't deny the benefits. The financial pressure, though not entirely gone, felt lighter with that 3,000 promise hanging over his head. His apartment, once a source of mild embarrassment, was now a sanctuary. He was eating better, sleeping better, and found himself with more mental clarity for his design work. He even managed to land a new gig with a local boutique, thanks to the extra focus he now had. But the perfection was unsettling. It was too absolute, too flawless. He started noticing the little things. If he mentioned a craving for a particular dish, it would appear on the dinner table that very evening. If he casually wondered aloud where he'd put his spare charging cable, it would mysteriously surface, coiled neatly on his desk. He hadn't told her about his preferred brand of coffee or the specific blend of tea he enjoyed, yet they were always stocked. It was as if she could read his mind, or perhaps had spent an inordinate amount of time observing him. One afternoon, he had a video call scheduled with a new client, Miss Chin, a bustling entrepreneur looking for a fresh brand identity. He'd meticulously tidied his background, even though Elara had already ensured the entire apartment was spotless. The call began smoothly, Miss Chin animatedly describing her vision. Kai was leaning into the screen, fully engrossed, when he caught a subtle movement in his periphery. Elara was walking past the open doorway of his bedroom, where his desk was set up. She was carrying a laundry basket, her back to him, but as she moved, her head tilted ever so slightly, and he saw her eyes in the reflection of the hallway mirror. They weren't focused on her task, but rather intently fixed on him, or more precisely, on his screen. A quick, almost imperceptible flicker passed through them before she continued on her way, disappearing into the utility room. A shiver traced its way down Kai's spine. He tried to brush it off. She was just doing her job, walking by. But the intensity of that reflected gaze, it felt like an intrusion, a silent monitoring. Later that evening, his best friend Liam came over for their usual pizza and creative critique session. Liam, an aspiring musician with a perpetually messy mop of hair and an even messier apartment, walked in and stopped dead. "Dude, what did you do?" Liam's jaw nearly hit the floor. He ran a hand over the gleaming surface of Kai's coffee table. "It's clean. Like sci-fi movie clean. And what is that smell? Not BO and stale pizza for once." Kai managed a tight smile. "That's Elara's work. My maid, remember." "Right, the $3,000 a month mystery woman," Liam said, his eyes scanning the immaculate living room, then widening as he saw the perfectly arranged fruit bowl on the counter. "Seriously, man, this is insane. My mom's house isn't this clean. You sure you didn't accidentally hire a robot?" Elara emerged from the kitchen, a tray of freshly baked cookies and 2 glasses of chilled lemonade in hand. She moved with her characteristic quiet elegance, her smile serene. "Welcome, Liam. Kai speaks of you often. Please, help yourselves." Liam, usually boisterous and a little clumsy, seemed to deflate slightly in her presence. He mumbled a thank you, taking a cookie with unusual caution. Elara's gaze, though polite, lingered on him for a moment, a subtle assessment in her eyes that made Liam visibly uncomfortable. She then turned her attention back to Kai, a softer, almost intimate warmth entering her expression. "Is there anything else you require, Kai? Perhaps some more water for Liam?" No, we're good, Elara." "Thank you," Kai said quickly, feeling the strange tension in the air. She gave a small, graceful nod, her eyes again briefly flicking to Liam before she retreated to the kitchen. As soon as she was out of earshot, Liam leaned forward, his voice dropping to a whisper. "Dude, what is up with her? She's like a walking, talking perfection machine. She looks like a supermodel, she bakes like a Michelin-starred chef, and she cleans like she's possessed by the spirit of Martha Stewart. It's too much." "I know, right?" Kai confessed, grateful for Liam's grounded perspective. "It's kind of creepy." She just knows things. Like she anticipates my every move. And I swear, sometimes I feel like she's watching me. Liam shuddered. I got a weird vibe. Like she was scrutinizing me. Like I was a fly that landed on her immaculate counter. She's too polished, too quiet. It's like she's playing a role. He took another cookie, albeit with a nervous glance towards the kitchen. No offense, Kai, but you're a good guy. And you're smart. But you're also kinda naive. You sure she's just a maid? This whole situation is weird, man. $3,000 for a maid? Who is homeless? Come on. Kai felt a prickle of annoyance at the naive comment, but he couldn't deny the truth in Liam's words. He had dismissed his own growing apprehension, too enamored with the sudden ease of his life. Later that night, long after Liam had left, muttering about the creepy step-forward maid, Kai was winding down. He had taken a shower and was about to plug in his phone, which he'd left on his bedside table, to charge. He picked it up and a notification caught his eye. An old text message from his mother, sent a few days ago, was open. He had read it when it came in, so why was it open again? He scrolled back. It was a mundane message about his aunt's upcoming birthday. Nothing sensitive. But the fact that it was open, that the screen had clearly been active after he'd last put it down, sent a cold wave through him. He knew, with a chilling certainty, that he hadn't opened it. Someone else had. He looked around his meticulously clean bedroom. Every item was in its place. Too much in its place. He moved towards his dresser, where he kept his important documents in a small, locked box. He rarely opened it. The lock, a simple key mechanism, was still fastened. But as he ran his thumb over the small silver keyhole, he felt a faint scratch. Not a fresh scratch, but one he didn't remember being there before. It was almost imperceptible, a tiny line on the polished metal. A sudden, overwhelming sense of dread washed over him. He felt exposed, vulnerable, as if the very walls of his apartment had turned against him. He wasn't just living with a maid, he was living under surveillance. He walked quietly to his bedroom door, his heart thumping in his chest, and slowly pulled it shut, the soft click echoing in the unnerving silence of the apartment. He then walked to his window, peering out into the street below, needing a sense of the outside world, a reminder of his own freedom. As he turned from the window, his gaze swept across the room. On his small bedside table, where he'd placed his phone, Elara's reflection was briefly visible in the polished surface of his new, pristine water carafe. She wasn't in the room, but her reflection, perfectly clear, showed her standing in the hallway just outside his closed door, her back to him, as if she were about to walk away. But her head was subtly turned, and her eyes, those beautiful, intense obsidian eyes, were fixed directly on his closed bedroom door. And then she moved, her shadow dissolving as she retreated further into the apartment, leaving Kai utterly alone in his room, the image of her watchful reflection burning in his mind. The gilded cage felt very real, and he was undeniably trapped within its polished bars. The scent of freshly baked bread, a new addition to Elara's ever-expanding repertoire of domestic perfection, hung heavy in Kai's small apartment. It was a smell designed to evoke comfort, homeliness, yet it only amplified the burgeoning unease in Kai's gut. Every perfect meal, every spotless surface, every perfectly folded shirt felt less like a gift and more like a tightening noose. He sat at his design desk, ostensibly working, but his gaze kept drifting to the framed photos on his shelf. One of him and Liam, goofy grins plastered on their faces after a particularly grueling hackathon. Another of his parents, younger, beaming before the weight of financial hardship, had etched lines of worry onto their faces. He yearned for the simple, predictable life captured in those images. Now, his reality was anything but. Elara was a phantom. She moved silently, efficiently, her presence often announced only by a shift in the air or the subtle click of a cupboard door. Her soft smiles, once disarming, now felt like a carefully constructed facade. The way she'd casually mentioned seeing a message from a female client on his phone, then quickly added, "Oh, I just saw it pop up when I was cleaning your desk, Kai." Is she new? That was no accident. The way her eyes would sharpen, almost imperceptibly, when he spoke to Mrs. Tanaka in the hallway, or when he brought up a platonic female friend in conversation. It was a cold, possessive gaze that promised a storm beneath its placid surface. His laptop screen glowed with an unfinished design brief, but Kai's mind was elsewhere. He needed answers. This wasn't just a strange arrangement anymore. It was becoming a threat to his peace, possibly even his safety. That evening, over one of Elara's exquisite homemade pasta dishes, Kai tried to probe. "Elara," he began, stirring his fork through the rich marinara. "You know, you've never really talked much about your past. What was it like? Before you came here?" Elara paused, a delicate piece of pasta midway to her lips. Her eyes, usually so expressive, became unreadable. "My past, Kai? It's not very interesting, I assure you." Her voice was soft, dismissive. "Just a blur of unpleasantness. I much prefer my life now here with you." She offered a small, almost wistful smile. "You rescued me, after all, from a rather bleak existence." The way she said it, "here with you," sent a shiver down his spine. It wasn't a casual statement, it was a declaration. She was deflecting, as always. There was no real information, just an emotional appeal that made him feel like a villain for even asking. He dropped the topic, a knot tightening in his stomach. He wouldn't get answers from her directly. The next day, Kai made an excuse about needing to clear his head and met Liam at their usual coffee shop, a bustling corner establishment that served overly sweet lattes, but offered a comforting anonymity. "Dude, you look like you've seen a ghost," Liam greeted, his brow furrowed as Kai slumped into the worn armchair opposite him. "Bad client meeting?" Kai took a large gulp of his latte, the sweetness doing little to cut through his anxiety. "Worse. It's Elara." Liam, ever the practical one, leaned forward. "Still with the 3K maid? She hasn't cleaned you out and disappeared yet." "No, not that," Kai shook his head, running a hand through his hair. "She's perfect. Too perfect. My apartment is immaculate, my clothes are always ironed, she cooks like a 5-star chef. But it's everything else. The looks she gives any female I even mention. The way she accidentally sees my messages. It's like she's watching my every move. And when I try to ask her about herself, she just shuts down or turns it into how grateful she is to me." Liam whistled low. "Okay, that's not normal. I mean, a little possessiveness from a partner, maybe. But a maid who you barely know, who you pay $3,000 a month. That's next level creepy. She claims to be homeless, no family, no history. But Liam, she moves like she grew up in a palace. Her clothes, even when they were ruined, felt expensive. Her speech is incredibly refined. This isn't a woman who's ever spent a night on the street." Kai's voice was hushed, laced with frustration. "I feel like I'm living with a ghost, a beautiful, terrifying ghost who knows everything about me and tells me nothing about herself." Liam took a thoughtful sip of his own coffee. "So you think she's lying? About everything?" "I don't know what to think," Kai admitted, leaning forward, desperation creeping into his tone. "But I can't shake the feeling that I've let something dangerous into my life. I need to know who she really is. For my own peace of mind, if nothing else." "Okay, man, calm down," Liam said, seeing the panic in Kai's eyes. "You're right to be concerned. $3,000 a month is insane for a maid. And the whole no past thing is a massive red flag. She probably has a record, or is running from something. Have you tried looking her up?" "How? I don't even have a last name. And Elara could be made up." "True. But you have what she looks like. And details. Think about it. Highly refined, elegant, no obvious street savvy. If she was homeless, it would have been a very recent development. And if she came from money, a lot of money, and then suddenly vanished, well, that usually makes news." Liam tapped his chin. "Start with what you know. General search terms. Missing woman, elegant, affluent background, maybe even heiress vanished or society disappearance. It's a long shot, but sometimes these things pop up." Armed with Liam's practical advice and a rekindled sense of urgency, Kai returned home, the apartment feeling more like a cage than ever. Elara was out, running an errand for groceries, which gave him a window of opportunity. He powered up his laptop, his fingers hovering over the keyboard. Where to start? He remembered the way she held herself, the way she spoke, the quiet command in her posture despite her subservient role. He typed, "Missing woman, refined, elegant city." Too broad. He added, "affluent background." Still too many results, mostly celebrity gossip or true crime blogs. He thought back to that night, the incident he'd rescued her from. She was disoriented, distraught, but not panicked in a way that suggested she feared physical harm. More like she was in shock from a sudden, unexpected change in circumstances. And the clothes, expensive, tailored, but ruined as if by a sudden downpour or an unexpected tumble. Kai narrowed his search. He remembered a news report a few weeks back, a local segment he'd half listened to while making dinner, about a prominent family. He couldn't recall the details, just a vague sense of a scandal or a disappearance. The Sterling family. They were huge, a conglomerate involved in everything from tech to real estate. He knew them by reputation, the kind of money that made his $3,000 debt feel like pocket change. He typed, "Sterling family disappearance." The search results exploded. The first article headline blared, "Heiress Eleanor Sterling vanishes. Sterling conglomerate offers massive reward for information." Kai's heart hammered against his ribs. He clicked on it, his breath catching in his throat. The article was recent, just a few weeks old. It detailed the disappearance of Eleanor Sterling, the only daughter of Mr. Alistair Sterling, the notoriously private and powerful CEO of Sterling conglomerate. She had been last seen leaving a high-profile charity gala, apparently distraught after an argument with her father. Her car was later found abandoned, partially submerged in a canal after a heavy storm, but there was no sign of her. Private investigators had been engaged, and the family had been tight-lipped, but the media frenzy was undeniable. Below the article was a photo. A formal portrait. The woman in the picture wore an elegant gown, her hair swept up in a sophisticated style, a serene, almost regal expression on her face. Her eyes, however, were unmistakable. The same striking shade of gray, the same delicate curve to her lips. It was Elara. But not quite. The woman in the photo was polished, poised, radiating an aura of untouchable wealth. Elara, his maid, was softer, perhaps a little more vulnerable, but the resemblance was undeniable. He scrolled further, finding more candid photos, news clips. One showed her laughing, an almost manic sparkle in her eyes, as she left a high-end fashion show. Another, a blurry paparazzi shot, showed her looking distressed, fleeing a building, her perfectly coiffed hair slightly askew. Eleanor Sterling. Not Elara. Eleanor. The missing heiress. Kai leaned back in his chair, a cold sweat breaking out on his forehead. The $3,000 a month suddenly felt like a pittance, a ridiculously small sum for the monumental trap he'd unwittingly walked into. This wasn't some poor, desperate woman. This was a runaway heiress, a woman of immense power and privilege who had chosen to appear homeless and manipulate him into giving her shelter, all while exhibiting increasingly possessive behavior. The article painted a picture of the Sterling family as ruthless, their influence far-reaching, their privacy fiercely guarded. They wouldn't take kindly to their missing daughter being hidden away, especially by someone like him, a struggling graphic designer. He reread the details. Distraught after an argument with her father. Car found abandoned, partially submerged in a canal after a heavy storm. It clicked. The storm. That was the night he found her, drenched and disoriented, near the canal road. She hadn't been homeless. She had just escaped, or perhaps even staged, her disappearance. And she had found him. Or rather, chose him. A sudden click of the front door made Kai jump, nearly sending his laptop flying. Elara. He slammed the laptop shut, his heart racing. He tried to compose himself, to wipe the shock and fear from his face, but he knew he was failing. Elara walked in, carrying a reusable grocery bag, her usual serene smile in place. Her gaze swept over him, lingering for a fraction longer than usual on his pale, strained face. Her eyes, those same gray eyes he'd just seen in a formal portrait, seemed to pierce through his forced nonchalance. "You're home early, Kai," she observed, her voice as smooth as silk. "Is everything all right? You look troubled." He swallowed, his mouth suddenly dry. He could feel the weight of her gaze, knowing, assessing. She must have sensed his shift, his discovery. The air crackled with unspoken tension. "I'm fine, Elara," he managed, his voice a little too high-pitched. "Just a headache. Long day." Her smile didn't waver, but a flicker of something unreadable crossed her features, a hint of satisfaction, perhaps, or a predatory gleam. "Oh dear. You work too hard, Kai. Don't worry. I'll make you some chamomile tea. You just rest." She walked past him, a subtle sway to her hips, her perfume a delicate, expensive scent he'd come to associate with her. As she entered the kitchen, Kai risked a glance at his now-closed laptop. The screen was black, but the implications of what he'd just seen screamed in his mind. He wasn't just in debt anymore. He was embroiled in a high-stakes family drama, entangled with a manipulative heiress, and almost certainly on the radar of a powerful, ruthless conglomerate. He was a pawn, trapped in a gilded cage that had just revealed its menacing bars. And then his phone vibrated. A number he didn't recognize. He picked it up, his hand trembling. A deep, authoritative male voice boomed through the receiver. "Is this Kai Asher? My name is Alistair Sterling. I believe you have something of mine." The silence of Kai's small apartment, once a comforting haven, now felt like a taut wire stretched to breaking point. Every creak of the floorboards, every distant siren, seemed amplified, each one a drumbeat counting down to an inevitable confrontation. He clutched the crumpled news article, the picture of a smiling, younger Elara, or rather, Elara Sterling, missing heiress, staring up at him from the grainy print. The life he'd built, however modest, felt like it was slipping through his fingers, replaced by a chilling uncertainty. He'd tried to talk to Liam, but his best friend, after hearing a truncated version of the story, had just gaped, eyes wide with a mix of disbelief and morbid fascination. "Dude, you seriously let a billionaire heiress pretend to be your maid for $3,000 a month? What even is your life?" Liam had ended the call with a promise to come over, a promise Kai wasn't sure he wanted him to keep, not with Elara's increasingly vigilant presence. Elara herself had been eerily quiet since Kai's discovery. She hadn't openly acknowledged the news article he'd left conspicuously on the kitchen table, but the way her eyes lingered on him, a subtle shift in her posture when he so much as glanced at his phone, told him she knew he knew. Her meals were still perfectly prepared, his apartment still spotless, but the undercurrent of her possessiveness had intensified, like a deep-sea current pulling him further into uncharted waters. She moved with an unsettling grace, always seeming to be in the same room as him, a shadow in his periphery. He'd woken up once to find her standing silently by his bed, watching him sleep, her eyes reflecting the pale moonlight. When he'd startled awake, she'd merely offered a soft, "You looked peaceful, Kai. I just wanted to ensure you were resting well." The words were gentle, but the sentiment felt like a silken rope tightening around his throat. The real storm broke on a Tuesday afternoon. A sleek, black sedan, far too expensive for his humble street, pulled up outside his apartment building. Two imposing men in dark suits emerged, their stern faces scanning the row of identical, modest facades before honing in on his. They were followed by a third, older man, his silver hair impeccably styled, his suit tailored to perfection. This was Mr. Sterling. Kai recognized him instantly from photos in the financial news Elara had occasionally left lying around. Before Kai could even consider feigning absence, there was a sharp, imperious knock on his door. Elara, who had been dusting a shelf Kai hadn't even realized needed dusting, stiffened. Her back, usually so composed, now radiated tension. "Don't answer it, Kai," she murmured, her voice a low, urgent whisper that was entirely unlike her usual calm tone. Her hand shot out, grasping his arm with surprising strength. Her nails, manicured to perfection, dug in slightly. Another knock, louder this time, reverberated through the small apartment. "Elara, I have to," Kai said, trying to pry her fingers off. He was terrified of what Mr. Sterling would do if he tried to hide his daughter. Her grip tightened, her eyes, usually soft around him, now burned with an intensity he'd only seen glimpses of before. "No. They'll take me away. They'll take me away from you." Her voice was laced with a desperation that twisted Kai's gut. It was a plea, a demand, and a subtle threat all at once. The third knock was accompanied by a voice, cold and authoritative. "Mr. Asher, we know you're in there. We simply wish to speak with our daughter, Elara Sterling, and clarify a few misunderstandings." Kai finally managed to pull his arm free, his skin tingling where Elara had touched him. "Elara, let me handle this," he urged, moving towards the door. Her expression hardened. "If you let them in, Kai, you'll regret it." The words were spoken with chilling certainty, devoid of emotion. He hesitated, a knot of dread forming in his stomach. But the Sterling family wouldn't be deterred by a closed door. This wasn't some minor inconvenience. This was a powerful family demanding their missing heiress back. He had to face them. Taking a deep breath, he opened the door. Mr. Sterling stood on his threshold, his gaze sweeping over Kai's apartment with undisguised disdain, as if the very air inside was beneath him. His eyes, the same piercing blue as Elara's, narrowed as they finally settled on Kai. "So, you're the one." Mr. Sterling's voice was a low growl, dripping with contempt. "Kai Asher, a struggling graphic designer living in this." He gestured vaguely at Kai's modest living space. "And you expect me to believe you're not exploiting my daughter?" "I'm not exploiting her, sir," Kai stammered, feeling his face flush. "She came to me. She told me she was homeless, offered to work as a maid." "A maid? My daughter? Don't insult my intelligence, boy," Mr. Sterling scoffed, stepping into the apartment uninvited, his two bodyguards following closely, effectively boxing Kai in. The scent of expensive cologne filled the small space, clashing with the subtle floral scent Elara usually maintained. Then, Mr. Sterling's eyes landed on Elara, who had retreated slightly but stood her ground, her chin tilted defiantly. "Elara, what is the meaning of this charade? Come home now. Your mother is worried sick." Elara's gaze, however, wasn't on her father. It was on Kai, a silent plea, a desperate challenge in her sapphire eyes. "I am home, father," she said, her voice clear and steady, but with an underlying tremor only Kai seemed to catch. "I chose to be here." Mr. Sterling let out a humorless laugh. "Chose? You ran away, child, after a disagreement. You've been missing for weeks. Do you have any idea the resources we've expended looking for you? And to find you here, playing house with this opportunist." He spat the word out like a curse. "I am not an opportunist," Kai interjected, finding a sudden surge of anger. "I didn't know who she was. She told me she needed help, and I offered it. The money was her idea, not mine. $3,000 a month for a maid in this apartment? You expect me to believe you weren't aware of her value?" Mr. Sterling's eyes bored into him. "You've clearly taken advantage of her, held her here under some pretense." "No, she's free to leave whenever she wants," Kai retorted, feeling trapped between Elara's silent defiance and her father's intimidating accusations. Just then, Elara moved. She walked purposefully towards Kai, her gaze unwavering as she met her father's furious stare. She reached for Kai's hand, lacing her fingers through his, a public display of affection that shocked Kai and enraged Mr. Sterling. "I'm not leaving, father," Elara declared, her voice ringing with finality. "This is my choice. Kai has been nothing but kind to me. He saved me." Mr. Sterling's face darkened, a vein throbbing in his temple. "Kind? He's clearly manipulated you, Elara. We'll have you back by the end of the day. There are legal documents, contracts, that will compel you to return to us." "No contract can compel affection, father," Elara countered, squeezing Kai's hand, a possessive gesture that felt both protective and restrictive. "And I have no intention of returning to a life where I am merely a pawn in your business schemes." The standoff solidified. Mr. Sterling stood like a granite statue, his eyes darting between his defiant daughter and the bewildered Kai. His bodyguards shifted, their presence a palpable threat. "This isn't over, Mr. Asher," Mr. Sterling said, his voice dropping to a dangerous whisper. "You have no idea what you've gotten yourself into. We will not tolerate this. You will release my daughter, or we will make sure you regret the day you ever met her." He paused, his gaze lingering on Kai's hand, still intertwined with Elara's. "And Elara, if you insist on this rebellion, there will be consequences. For both of you." With that ominous warning, Mr. Sterling turned on his heel, his bodyguards following. The apartment suddenly felt immense as they left, the door clicking shut with a finality that echoed in Kai's ears. He stood there for a long moment, the scent of expensive cologne lingering, his heart hammering against his ribs. The silence that followed was suffocating. Then Elara turned to him, her eyes shining with an unsettling mix of triumph and something else Kai couldn't quite decipher, a deep, almost frightening devotion. She tightened her grip on his hand, her thumb tracing patterns on his skin. "See, Kai," she whispered, her voice soft, almost childlike, but with an edge of steel. "I told you they would try to take me, but we'll be together. You're safe with me, and I'm safe with you. They'll never separate us." Kai looked at her, truly looked at the woman who was both his salvation and his potential ruin. Her expression was serene, yet utterly resolute. He felt the weight of her words, the chilling promise behind them. He wasn't just in a financial bind anymore. He was a hostage in an emotional war, trapped in a gilded cage that was rapidly shrinking. The Sterling family wanted her back, and Elara, in her terrifying devotion, would ensure he never left her side. He was caught between two powerful, unyielding forces, and for the first time, Kai Asher felt a true, bone-deep fear that he might never truly be free again. The silence in Kai's small apartment was no longer peaceful. It was a suffocating shroud, heavy with unspoken threats and the cloying scent of Elara's expensive perfume. The phone call from Mr. Sterling had ended hours ago, but its echoes reverberated in Kai's mind. Accusations, demands, thinly veiled threats against his burgeoning stability. Elara, perched on the edge of his worn sofa, watched him with an intensity that bordered on predatory. Her posture was coiled, a picture of elegant distress, yet her eyes, when they met his, held a defiant glint. "They won't take me back, Kai," she murmured, her voice a fragile whisper that belied the steel underneath. "Not after all this. And even if they tried, I won't go." Kai ran a hand through his hair, the weight of the situation pressing down on him. He had spent his life avoiding conflict, navigating around obstacles, but there was no deterring this time. He was at the epicenter of a storm, caught between a powerful, ruthless family and a woman whose love was a beautiful, terrifying trap. His naive trust, his desperate need for financial relief, had led him here. Now he had to be astute, cautious, and, for the first time, truly assert himself. "Elara," he began, his voice surprisingly steady, "we need to talk. All of us." Her gaze sharpened. "Talk about what?" "That you're turning me over to them." A tremor ran through her, or perhaps it was a calculated performance. "No," Kai said, meeting her eyes. "Not that. But this can't continue the way it is. I am not your captor, and I am not your guardian. You can't stay here pretending to be my maid while your family is threatening me and searching for you like you're a missing artifact. And I definitely can't have you monitoring my calls, glaring at my friends." He felt a flush of anger rise. "My life isn't a game for you to control." Elara's perfectly sculpted face crumpled slightly. "But I love you, Kai. I just want to protect you. They're dangerous. And those women, they don't understand you like I do." Her voice dropped to a seductive murmur. "We could have such a perfect life here. Just you and me." "No, Elara. That's not love," Kai countered, the words tasting bitter on his tongue. "That's something else. Love is built on trust and respect, on freedom. Not on surveillance and manipulation." He walked towards her, stopping a safe distance away. "I'm not a child you can possess, and I'm not a prize. I value my independence, my privacy. And what I truly want is a peaceful life, not one filled with paranoia and constant fear of your family." A flicker of something unreadable crossed her face, surprise, perhaps even a sliver of genuine hurt. "You don't understand," she whispered. "My family, they control everything. They would never allow me to be with someone like you. They'd separate us." Her eyes widened with a desperate plea. "If you send me back, they'll lock me away. They'll ruin you for helping me." "Then we have to face them together," Kai stated, the decision firming in his mind. "But on my terms. Not theirs, and not yours if it means erasing my identity. I am not going to be a pawn in your family drama. If you stay, it has to be with boundaries. Real boundaries. And if you go, then we need to ensure I'm not implicated in your escape or labeled as a kidnapper." The apartment door buzzed, a jarring, insistent sound that shattered the tense atmosphere. Both Kai and Elara jumped. Kai hesitated, then walked towards the intercom. "Yes, Mr. Asher? This is Mr. Davies, legal counsel for the Sterling family. Mr. Sterling requires a word with you." The voice was smooth, devoid of inflection, yet it carried an undeniable authority. Elara's face went pale. She looked at Kai, a silent question in her eyes. "Don't," she mouthed. But Kai had already made his decision. He pressed the release button. Send him up. This was it. The confrontation he'd been dreading, yet also, in a strange way, anticipating. It was time to stand his ground. A few minutes later, a sharply dressed man in a charcoal suit stood in his living room, flanked by two equally imposing bodyguards. Mr. Davies's eyes, cold and assessing, swept over the modest apartment, then landed on Elara, who had retreated to a corner, a hand covering her mouth. "Miss Sterling," Mr. Davies acknowledged with a slight, almost imperceptible nod. He then turned his full attention to Kai. "Mr. Asher, Mr. Sterling is prepared to offer you a substantial sum for Miss Sterling's immediate and safe return. No questions asked. We'll simply consider this a misunderstanding." Kai felt a surge of resentment. They were treating him like a common mercenary. "I'm not holding Elara against her will, Mr. Davies. She came to me, claiming to be homeless. And she offered me a job. A job as your maid, for $3,000 a month, from a woman you supposedly thought was homeless?" Mr. Davies raised an eyebrow, a hint of disdain in his voice. "That strains credulity, Mr. Asher. We are aware of your financial situation. Your student debts, the outstanding bills from your previous client. We know everything." Kai swallowed, feeling exposed. This was the power of the Sterling family. They didn't just threaten, they knew. "I needed the money," Kai admitted, his voice firm despite the discomfort. "But I didn't know who she was. And I'm not a kidnapper. I've never harmed her. In fact, I helped her. She's free to leave anytime she chooses." He looked at Elara, who stared back, her expression unreadable. Mr. Davies followed his gaze. "Miss Sterling? Is that true?" Elara hesitated, then nodded almost imperceptibly. I chose to stay. Kai helped me." She avoided looking at her family's lawyer. Mr. Davies sighed, pulling a tablet from his briefcase. "Regardless, Mr. Sterling insists on her return. Her safety, her well-being, her future, it's all in jeopardy out here. We can offer you $500,000, Mr. Asher, to simply walk away from this situation. No strings attached, no legal repercussions. $500,000. The number hung in the air, a dizzying, life-altering sum. It would erase his debts, secure his future, and then some. It was everything he had ever dreamed of. But the thought of simply accepting the money and handing Elara over like a package felt morally repugnant. It would make him complicit, a silent mercenary after all. And what about Elara's clear fear of her family? Kai looked at Elara, then back at Mr. Davies. "No," he said, the word feeling oddly powerful. "That's not how this works. I'm not selling her, and I'm not a hostage negotiator. Elara needs to decide her own future, and her family needs to respect that. And if she stays here, it's on my terms, not as a desperate maid, and not as a glorified prisoner." "Mr. Asher, you're playing a very dangerous game," Mr. Davies warned, his voice losing its veneer of politeness. "Mr. Sterling is not accustomed to having his offers refused. And I'm not accustomed to being threatened in my own home," Kai shot back, a spark of defiance igniting within him. "I want a face-to-face meeting with Mr. Sterling. And Elara will be there. We discuss everything openly. Her future, my involvement, the financial arrangement she initiated. Everything." Mr. Davies stared at him, a flicker of genuine surprise in his eyes. Then, a thin smile touched his lips. "Very well. Mr. Sterling will be intrigued by your audacity. Expect contact." With a curt nod, he and his bodyguards turned and left, leaving the apartment feeling even emptier than before. Elara slowly unfolded herself from the corner, her eyes wide with a mixture of fear and admiration. You refused the money, she whispered. And you stood up to them. Of course I did, Kai said, exhaling slowly. The adrenaline was beginning to ebb, leaving him feeling shaky but resolute. I'm not them, Elara. I won't be bought. And I'm not a fool, either. We need to be smart about this. He walked over to her, his expression serious. Now, tell